I actually, sorry, I just wanted to say something to this, and I
Mm,
hope it's okay. Um, that I also suffered a terrible amount of abuse, uh, actually some sexual also when I was a child, and it was from both parents, very bad. Um, and I kind of thought that I'd done a lot of therapy in my life, and a lot actually, and I really felt like I'd, you know, got to a place where it wasn't completely overwhelming for me. Um, and what do I want to say? It's just a fact. A few years ago, right, I had this awakening experience, and after that, wow, there was whole new layers, layers of stuff that came up. So I'm just going to lower my hands here. Uh, Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Um, um, I had waves and waves of hatred and anger and kind of after that, but that went on for a while for me. It was very intense. But for sure, because of this awakening, I couldn't do anything to stop it. The lid just kind of comes off, and there it is.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know, you know very well. But it gets better. I mean, it helps. Letting all that stuff out that you just have to deal with or just feel it. I think when I was a kid, I was just so terrified of my parents that I couldn't feel all the anger. And then on top of that, and when you repress anger long enough, you actually get hatred. I think that's where hatred comes from. So
Yeah.
I had a kind of this crust of hatred, and then I felt that, and after that, then there was this volcano of anger, and it just kind of went on. But I don't feel that anymore.
Mm.
I When I hear somebody's story, I feel it again. But in my life, in my own life, I don't experience that. It sort of came out, and so I don't know. I just want
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah.
to,
I totally get that because yeah, I've had not when I was young, but later on in life there was a lot of sexual trauma and it was, in the story I really associated it with how my mom brought me up because she's unintentionally suppressed me so much in so many different ways. Um, yeah, I was just so locked down and it led to 10 years of health issues and just intense suffering and hatred of myself. And it was
you yeah.
so, yeah,
Yeah, right. It can go hatred of self, hatred of others, all of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then later on, like you, I think more recently, it was able to be projected toward I guess, my mom a little more, um, because it was never able to be projected on her.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it that way. I was just too immersed in my own perspective and story, which was, a kind of good girl and like put your parents on a pedestal a little bit, like respect them. They did their best. They suffered a lot. They came from war. Like I
Yeah.
know how intense it's been for them. But because of that kind of like, no, they've been through so much, I just wouldn't, I just wasn't able to be like, no, there's just hatred because it affected my life in such a horrific way.
Yeah.
It's like understandable that there would be some intense anger.
Totally. Yeah. And because of their suffering, that doesn't negate your feelings. It's complicated, right? It's a little complicated.
Exactly.
And it's reasonable that you would feel to sort of go light on them because they've suffered a lot. That's also reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was no one's fault. I
No,
know that, but it's just like there's anger. There's
there's
just
anger. Yeah, and it really, yeah, yeah. They just it has to be
yeah.
felt, and luckily it sort of discharges when you give it enough, give it its time and space, and or sadness or anything, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Seems
Exactly.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also hearing other people's stories, like it seems to help as well. So I'm glad that yeah, you shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, this awakening thing is a roller coaster. It's like it really does feel like you've mended a lot, and then it's like, oh fuck. God damn it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I really feel a lot of affection for you, and just how you present, and just the way you talk. You're very authentic, and it's just super sweet.
Mm.
Um, and I've noticed it feels. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to get these words wrong, but I'll try. But I get often I get a feeling when I see your videos, which I enjoy tremendously and get a lot from. But I often feel that there's a kind of you talk a lot about the loss, what's lost, and I don't hear much about what's gained. And I wonder about that
Mm.
because I mean, for me, I there's a lot gained, tremendous amount gained. It's a funny, it's like it's another dichotomy. It's both, right? I was just wondering about that, if it just how, I don't know. Maybe I'm even perceiving incorrectly. That's obviously a possibility. I was just wondering.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're probably right because I feel like the majority of this at the end of the story is loss.
Yeah,
It's a loss in so many different ways. So you're right that I do talk about the loss much more because that's also where I feel like I can, in a way, help people too. It's not about
yeah,
you don't get anything, but it's not about the amazing realization or the amazingness of life, really. That just makes you suppress the emotional stuff and just want
right.
it just perpetuates seeking in a way. So
Yeah,
I mean it can, maybe not. But yeah, there has been a shift here a little bit because I think I've talked enough about the loss. Not
oh
that
yeah,
I'm still very much open to that, but yeah, there's much more of an openness now to talk about the everythingness.
yeah,
Um, but I think it's also a personality thing where I'm not the type to parade around like, oh, look how amazing this is. Like, I'm not really the type to do that anyways.
yeah. I understand that. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Of course, of course. It could be, yeah. Could be just sort of a phase, or it could be, like you said, more personality type, and it really doesn't matter. It doesn't really change your experience, just is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's kind of related, I think, slightly to how much you've suffered in life. It's like I can
Yeah,
relate to how horrific separation can feel and
yeah,
I don't take it lightly. Like it
yeah,
really sucks
yeah,
sometimes and I can't dismiss it. I can't
yeah.
I just can't.
No, I understand. Yeah, in fact, just the opposite. You want to address it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I salute that. Yeah. No, that's great. It doesn't matter. That was just a comment. I just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great.
Sometimes I watch your videos and you're talking about loss or something, and you make me chuckle. I can feel something. You make me laugh. So just I don't know. I can feel the sweetness behind what you're talking about, or the way you're talking about loss. It's in such a sweet way. It's like, oh, I can feel that.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah, yeah.
cool.
So it comes through anyway.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Cool.
I don't know. That's all.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Bye.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hey, Anne. So good to see you.
You too. I'm just going to put you on big camera. 1 second. That's better. Yeah, it's good to see you. Don't really know what I want to say, but I had quite a big experience over the last few days, which I've probably talked about before, but I keep getting like a physical pain. It feels like my heart, it's here. And it got really strong, like emotional pain, probably repressed pain, and resulted in quite a lot of tears last night, through the night. And it's like I know all the speakers that have woken up like yourself, and they say they go through this process of pain and how horrific it is and things like that. But I don't, it's so confusing, it's so like I have no idea what it's about when it's coming up or out, or it's so overwhelming. Like there's shame, there's disgust, there's pain, there's not wanting to be here, wanting to die. And then the day after, it can just go. And I don't even know what awakening is anymore. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know if that pain's leading anywhere, and there's nowhere to lead to, but it's like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go to those most vulnerable? Do I really want those layers taken off that are going to make me feel, I just feel I'm getting so much worse. Like, what have I signed up for here? What the, just, I'm just so like, clarity seems to get less and less. And when you talk, sometimes it doesn't seem like it was like that for you. It seems like you understood it more and you could see things about yourself and where it had come from and things.
Mm. Well, I think there was a period where I wasn't sure where I was. It was just bleak for a while. I didn't know if it was going to get better. I still felt like I was just processing stuff. I literally didn't know where I was going. It was whatever was coming up was just coming up. And a lot of the times the mind would be like, I don't want to be here. Because which is understandable if all you're getting is pain coming up, you know? So it's like a natural response that would happen. And it's not an uncommon thing in awakening for those existential thoughts to come up. Um, so no, it wasn't completely clear for me. I was confused. And I too questioned, like, do I really want to continue this? Because it's just really painful. And you can kind of see your whole life falling apart in a way, you know, like what you imagined or wanted. It's like just energetically falling apart. Um, so of course you would question this, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of not really helping my self-esteem, which is already low. It's
Yeah,
like, you know,
that's how I felt too. I needed to be like extra, like, no, you're doing great. You're
mm,
you're really
mm, yeah,
well, I'm telling you that right now. And it doesn't matter if you want to just stop and take a break or like that is not dependent on how I see you. You've always been doing amazing.
mm, thank you. Yeah, people do say that. It just doesn't go in really. Um, I have to say on the other side of it that, and when these horrible bits happen, I do forget the good bits, but I suppose it makes it even more confusing and makes me doubt what's going on, because the other side of it is that I get to see through the thought structure, and that almost, not almost, but I'm a thought. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
This whole thing, this whole me, this whole thing is a thought. It's just one thought. And it's so empty and nothing, and it's just a thought. It's just the whole thing is made out of a thought, perpetuated into other thoughts, but it's also fragile and a veil of thoughts. And I think the two extremes are just so, like, I just can't deal with it. There's the two extremes. Just, does that make sense what I mean about thought?
In a way, yeah. I think where you are, it's beautiful that you could see it that way. Like it is just a thought. Um, in a way, it's more than a thought. In a way, it's like completely energetic as well. More
Mm,
energetic than just the thoughts, because it's the energetics in the body that's giving power to the thought, making it real sometimes.
mm.
But by you seeing it like that, it's quite profound that it's just a thought, and that's
Well, what I mean is that thought is energy anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
It's just all made out of energy, or just, yeah.
yeah. And I get it. Like, when you have those kind of openings or like relief, like after there's just heaviness of emotional and repressed stuff coming up, and then you get this relief and you feel like maybe you're clear now. Yeah, so there is gonna be probably this interplay of like, oh, am I out of the woods? Is this it? And I do remember feeling like when intense emotions would come back again, yeah, there was just resistance, like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. I can't say I've got that relief today. I've seen the thought thing, but there's still sort of residues of fear, residues of like, oh God, till the next time sort of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, yeah, what comes to mind is I feel like I held on to I didn't intentionally do it, but I kept doing something that brought me something of value. And I think for me, that was YouTube, or like that was my partner. So
Mm,
I could sense that I was getting some value in the midst of like just despair sometimes.
mm,
And it dissolved when it dissolved. I didn't know if that attachment would go and or
mm.
when it would go, but I used it unintentionally. It was very unconscious, but um because you're
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I sometimes think about you all kind of lucky you found that partner at that time, and I don't feel I've got anything that I can hold on to like that that gives me value. No, nothing really. Um, yeah, I kind of find that bit difficult. You know, I'm kind of on my own with it completely.
yeah.
Obviously, the way it's got to be, it seems.
Hmm.
Yeah, not that I don't really want a partner at all. But yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, and the partner thing, like it wasn't all good. Like it made it more explosive
Mm,
at times, you
I
know.
imagine. Yes.
Um, yeah, and it's gonna be so unique for everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe this is perfect for you, you know?
Mm, exactly. It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, we'll see, won't we? It's just this is what it is, so it can't be any different, can it?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do
I
you want
don't even know why I'm sharing it really.
No, it's lovely. Do you want to go into like maybe some of the stories that might be related to like, the heart sensations?
I don't think so. I think it's all just too confusing, really, and I don't know where to start. It's just so much, you know, so much. No, I don't know. But it's nice to hear other people being very brave what they're sharing.
Mm.
Very courageous. But thanks, Suzanne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to speak about it, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I just don't know anything at all.
Well, every time you come on here, you're welcome to speak about bits of the story. You know, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but like one thing that is particularly triggering, even if there might be many, you can just pick
Mm,
one. You could just,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's just, I don't know, maybe I can't bring it to mind now because it's been so intense last night and the day before. I feel I'm just kind of having a rest from it now rather than to rake it all up again.
yeah.
I think that's about as much as I could share of it, really. It was just quite shocking to see how the emotional pain can actually hurt you physically. I could feel my heart sort of hurting,
Mm-hmm.
really sore, really raw, you know,
Yeah.
like I just wanted to get in and hold my heart, you know, sort of thing. So fragile, and it's like, oh God, will I survive this, you know, physically.
Yeah.
Um, it was interesting, but and strange, you know, strange, like, whoa, That's proper physical, you know. But the tears are starting to come, so I think I'm just melting that frozen numbness of the heart. I think it's just melting. I think it's been closed off for repressed for a while and just starting to melt. I think that's my interpretation anyway.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to hear that tears are coming.
Oh God, yeah, last night, yeah, more than ever.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Just know that the mind will panic because it's so not used to it. But it's such a good sign, like so good.
Mm,
And
good.
the rawness in the heart, oh, that's how I
Mm,
felt too. I literally felt it breaking, and it was pretty like very noticeable.
yeah, yeah, it does feel like it's breaking out. It really does.
Yeah, it's actually a good sign. I know it doesn't feel
Pardon?
like that.
Sorry, say that again.
It's a good sign. I know it doesn't feel like that, but
Yeah, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, I think so, probably. Yeah.
the breaking of the heart is the breaking of the ego or the
Mm,
identity. It I honestly do kind of feel like it's one and the same a bit.
yeah, yeah, I get it. I get that. Yeah, but, yeah. I mean, logically, I get it as well, but yeah, it kind of feels like it has to break, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, you just mentioning this stuff, it does bring me back to how I felt then when it was so intense. And
Mm,
I really did not know if I wanted to continue through this. Um, Not that I really had a choice, to be honest, because I was like so depleted too, and it was just happening.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, I don't feel I've got a choice, really. Just got to do whatever it does, and it's just at the time the images it shows you, you know, of horrible futuring into you're going to have a painful death and you're going to be hospitalized and you know you just getting older and older and just horrible sort of like videos of terrible things and the worst ways of living that can happen
yeah,
that seem real at the time, you know.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. It's really unfortunate that like when you're really low like this, that is when the mind will spit out the worst fears
mm,
and
mm.
make it worse, you know? Like it's unfortunate that you just get a whole tornado of it all at once.
Yeah,
That's how I
yeah,
felt too. Like it was like worst case scenarios going on.
absolutely catastrophic, catastrophizing, you know, just so brutal. Yeah, I've said that before, haven't we? How brutal it can be. Yeah, I can't even get excited about seeing the sort of structure of thought and how it plays on top of everything, which is quite a big insight when I get it. And it's I feel like something's lifted off my heart when I get it. But I can't even get excited about it. It's
Hmm.
just like, yeah, so what? Even that comes and goes, you know. There's
Yeah.
nothing to hold on to, nothing.
Mm. Yeah, you're talking like how I was talking, a couple months ago.
You always seemed really clear to me, Suzanne, like you knew what you were doing and understood it really, really well.
No, no one knows what they're doing.
Mm.
No, I literally was just documenting and I knew that I didn't know what was happening, but I was just documenting.
Right. Yeah.
No one knows
Yeah.
what's happening when this is happening because it's the first time for everyone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. 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 You just don't realize how bad it can get.
Oh yeah.
Then I suppose it a bit depends on how much trauma you've had as well. You
Mm.
know, how much you've repressed it or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you, Suzanne.
Aw, it was really lovely to see you, Anne.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you. Always lovely to hear you.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing, Anne.
You too. Lots of love
Lots of
to
love.
you, everyone.
Hey everyone. Hi Susan.
Hi, Jade. Nice to see you.
See you. No, I was just so much resonating with what Anne said and your experience what you're going through right now. I was in the very much same place only a few weeks ago. It was like terror. And I was literally like on my knees, like in a way, like praying, either you'll have to kill me or save me. I cannot do this anymore. It was like absolutely dark, dark place to be. And I was in a lot of physical pain too.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I could never really see when this was going to end, but somehow miraculously, something just clicked. No, and I just like saw, oh yeah, the grace, it always has been here. It was just, yeah. And then I had maybe a couple of weeks of sort of somewhat flat blood equanimity in a way. He's like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not like luminous or beautiful, but just sort of okayness. And then um the shame and under the cycle of the shame and guilt and judgment, toward myself kind of came up again, in less intense degree. Then I really realized how much I was suffering, that I didn't know I was suffering, or in a way that I denied I was suffering, pretended, putting on a brave face and, moving on. But yeah, and then really once I really start to, sit with that vulnerable place, then I realized that, oh yeah, this is the fierce grace, that it's just everything has to come to the light. Everything has to be felt. And there's no other way out of it other than just facing and feeling everything that I have to. Then in a way you felt like I was being held up. It's something larger than me, you know, in a way, like very motherly nurturing way. It's like my ego, myself, or my mind, my physical body. Like, I know you have tried hard. I know you did your best you could, and it's okay.
Mm.
Uh, I think that's where I am now.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, but yeah, and I'm seeing there's so many layers and layers that still will have to be um faced and then released and you know accepted and embraced. But yeah, it's not it's not an easy process. At times it just feels so painful, and I can see that that's kind of the draining part that I didn't want to see in myself. And yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
Fierce grace. That's a nice word.
Yeah, that's how adyashanti called it. Like life really surrenders us.
Mm-hmm.
And the awakening is that. No, at least for me, it's not. I was like talking to myself, where's that bliss? Where's the freaking honeymoon period that people like Eckhart Tolle said he was living in it for 2 years. Like mine was only for a few days, and I'm just like thrown into this shithole. But yeah, it's total. I can totally relate to and all your story, and I'm grateful that we have this space to share in, because otherwise I would be thinking, oh, I'm going crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. Everything you shared. Mm. So I feel like this sort of breaking point that we get to, breaking point meaning there's a collapse of a here-ness into just everything. Um, right before that happens, and obviously you can't predict this, and you can't know that it'll come. It's just all unknown. Yeah, that's when you can see that you can go through anything. You are always capable, because it just becomes more apparent that it was life. It was life crying. It was life breaking that heart completely open, like shattering it open. And throughout your lifetime, there were maybe moments where it was able to crack. But here, where you might have this sense that this really is the end of the road, this is where it can just completely break into a million pieces. And you can't put back that shield again. But yeah, it is kind of true that it might feel the worst it's ever felt in your life before you see how untouched you really are.